right, episode 13. Yeah, it's just 13 of Miraculous. This one might be a tad bit shorter. The reason why is, well, there's nothing really too much to say. I mean, there's a lot of lore drops in this episode specifically, right? And there's a lot of other like hidden details that apparently this actually happened and stuff like that. Which I'm not against. Of course, I actually do think the inclusion of it makes sense, but implications no, the implications make sense, right? But the way they introduce it is just a little weird. But before we start, I just want to say a few things. Currently, right now, was episode 13, right? And it's the English version. Episode 8 appeared, but it's a Halloween episode. I did not have time to actually record it because I was busy at college. Since I finished college, hopefully, the main, like, undergrad college, of course. Um, I will review number 8 soon. And number 8 is in English. It's a Halloween episode. I don't know why they released it like this, but it'll go back. If you're watching this on playlists, just to let you know I have not reviewed 8. So if I say something in 8, I'll make sure to say something there. I've not recorded yet. I've not watched it yet, but I will watch it soon. Just a little disclaimer there if you guys are watching it through the playlist. Without further ado, let's begin. The episode starts off basically doing a flashback recap of the part 1 of the season 5 finale, which is surprising to say the least. The animation has been updated just a tiny bit, so the models are a little different, although with the adults they're almost the same. Gabriel, or Monarch in this scene, looks almost the same, just more redefined and just a tad bit more polished of detail. And Mitsurugi, her face does seem a little rounder and does look a little older than usual. Of course, Kagami's mother is basically telling Gabriel to try not to overdo what he's doing right now, and all that stuff, because Monarch is hurt. Right? He's been decaying ever since then from season 5, but of course Gabriel doesn't really care and just tell her to stay out of his way. And even if once this succeeds, like, he won't have any use for her anymore. Yeah. As we'll see later, it does seem like Kagami, because Mitsurugi is actually calling Kagami here. It seems like Kagami is maybe in cahoots, possibly. So there's an interesting tidbit there. So how much does Kagami know about this plan? Who knows at this point. But considering that unless episode 8 explains some stuff, throughout season 6, this was never been mentioned, and Kagami never given hints, so this must be an off-screen thing. Off to a great start. I did skip the part with Adrian and the bodyguard because we'll get more information soon. As you see here, Marinette's mother, basically is asking Marinette what she's doing. Marinette is actually going to deliver, or at least send, a small package with some little objects inside. These objects are basically going to tell Adrian where to find a secret message. Yeah, Marinette is the more crafty and the chaotic one, of course, so technically it makes sense. But thankfully, this actually goes pretty well, and it's very simple. Basically, it's like clues of a scavenger hunt. It's a very small one, of course, so it's not too drastic. Let's think ourselves that this is not Marinette from like the earlier seasons. We know that Marinette would do like a very, very long scavenger hunt just to send this little message to Adrian. And maybe convoluted too. Adrian and of course the butler are basically observing these items. And it's pretty sweet, honestly. Basically, the items is like a picture of a birdhouse, a bird whistle, and some seeds, which actually leads to a dove, in which the dove actually has a note on Tetsu's leg. Surprising how Marinette actually catched this dove and then put the letter on. But then again, I think this is like the family pigeon of dove. It's a dove. The pigeons and doves look almost the same, but it's a dove because this one's purely white, like doves usually are. Or at least a species of those ones. It's a bit longer, but the message is pretty simple. It's like, I love you, Adrian. I think I appreciate you, and stuff like that. Of course, Adrian gives her a voicemail. Marinette is happy that Adrian figured it out, and she's happy to hear him just say that, just like, I love you too. Of course, it's been a while since they kept doing this, and Adrian is just like wishing that he could do something better, just because all he does to show his appreciation is just by voicemail, like voice calls, basically, while Marinette is doing these extravagant things. Flag is basically trying to help him, like, figure something out, possibly, and Adrian got an idea. But that's kind of about it for the B plot. The B plot's really simple, nothing too extraordinary, because this episode, if you haven't noticed in the very beginning, is about Kagami and also Felix. Felix is not really mentioned, but Kagami is implied, mostly. I do apologize for any background noise that just happened. I'll see if I can actually edit some of that out, but I don't think I can. So in this picture, we meet with Kagami. Looks like she's calling Felix. It's very cute and wholesome, of course, just showing their appreciation towards each other. And there's nothing much to say because, well, the love thing is pretty much explanatory, self-explanatory, so I won't go too much into it. But their relationship is still as strong as ever. For the B plot, I might go through just a tiny bit, just to give you a summarize. Adrian's trying to knit because Marinette is a fashion designer. While he's not trying to impress, maybe she'll appreciate the gesture. And surprisingly, Adrian is not really good with knitting. Marinette is a little surprised and asks Adrian what is it, and well, Adrian said it's a sweater. And Marinette actually does appreciate the effort. She does know that Adrian, this technically might be his first time doing something like this, but I think maybe she was half expecting Adrian to do a little decent job, since he didn't get her measurements or anything like that, or like a fashion designer would. So there's some shock from that, but Marinette really does appreciate it. Of course, Adrian does feel bad, even if Marinette reassures him, he's gonna try to do something different. This episode gets a lot of cut back and forth here and there, basically. Like the A plot and B plot, while they are pretty much good and in sync and they do make sense towards the story, the B plot doesn't have too much relevance to it. It's just how all the characters get there. There's a lot of cuts from here and there, so I don't know. Also, there's some weird stuff about flashbacks and stuff like that. Of course, this is the part where Kagami is confronting her mother about, of course, staying home and all that stuff, similar to Adrian, and of course the relationship debacle with her and Felix. Yeah. So in context, and this will be explained later in the episode, but I'll tell you right now, Kagami's mother is not really that trustworthy towards the Agress family, specifically because first it was Gabriel. The first main thing was with Gabriel, and Gabriel failed to see like his error of his ways, which the mother is actually trying to do, which was a good thing. But I don't know, just based on that, I mean, it makes sense how Gabriel treated you and all that stuff. But yeah, also how somewhat unloyal Adrian was. She doesn't know about the context of that, of course. But there was some other stuff. After talking about like just some references of what Kagami told us in the Tokyo special about how she got here, how she actually went to the public school and stuff like that. Schools, plural, but there's only said for one school, They both have an argument, basically, in that, in short, the mother feels that Kagami does not deserve to wear the family ring. And then we have a bunch of plot points dropped, lore drops here and there, just in terms of the story since season 5, because Kagami just transforms into Ryoku all of a sudden. The mother is pretty much unfazed by this, implying that they both know the secrets anyway, and Kagami's actually basically arguing with her, not with Felix, and of course the problem with the Agress family, specifically Gabriel. Not only that, but the plans that Gabriel had in store for, her mother and all that stuff. Meaning that Kagami does know the plan of Monarch to a certain degree, which is fascinating. But after all that anger and built up, Kagami does actually go for the reasonable route, which is trying to comfort her, but trying to give her an ultimatum as well. Basically, the reason why that Misugi, I'll just say that for short. Yeah, so she was supposed to be turned in, but because of Marinette or Ladybug's lie about Gabriel being a hero, that kind of saved her, and she was affiliated with him. Everybody knew that. Kagami basically kept that secret. This also implies that Kagami knows Gabriel's promise as well, because apparently Mitsurugi also knows what that happened. So even though Ladybug did not tell them, but it was implied that Ladybug knows this too. So basically, it does seem like her, Marinette, Felix, the mother, they all knew the secret, along with, Natalie as well. So it's a bunch of what the hell on moments right now, because with all the promises and all this stuff, and they're all keeping this from Adrian. Felix, Kagami, they're also keeping this from Adrian. So basically, it's not fully Marinette's fault. It would be Ladybug's fault, primarily, because she was mainly there. But Kagami already knew about this, thanks to the mother already knowing about this, because the mother implied she was tracking Gabriel this entire time towards his death, his sacrifice. So that is interesting. But of course, with the last part being, is that the promise is that her mother will be staying as long as she can change her ways. Because if you remember from everything, the analogy of Kagami is she is basically I wouldn't say mirror, it's like a reflection, just a true reflection of Adrian, but in a more traditional style in an Asian family. Japanese, basically. Like very super traditional in a way. Well, some families do actually have this problem, so it's not rarity and it's not like out of there, But to be honest, this whole thing, it's pretty deep, but I'm really just cutting it to simplify things a lot because it's a review. I'm not a true recap, right? But I really do like the energy here, and I do like how the confrontation for both of these have gone through. And I like it that Kagami actually calmed herself down and explained to her mother, and the mother calmed down as well. Wish some families were like that. But I'll say, like, her instant transformation and then all the rubble that fly off due to her power, the strength that she actually is commanding here, is any animation for it is really well done. You can actually feel the energy and the power of basically not just her words, but just her physical actions as well. It's more so like it's also doing that show don't tell thing, while her words and her energy do mean one thing. You can tell that she actually wants to basically hit her own mother, but she's restraining herself a lot, basically. But the only closest thing that she would be doing to her own mother is just using Wind Dragon. And Wind Dragon is technically used here as a more pacifist movement here. Just not actually pushing her there back so much, just pushing her gently with controlling the air. And I like that. After that talk, Kagami did actually leave to meet up with Felix, leaving the mother just going to her own thoughts. Yeah. But don't worry, we'll get to another reveal soon. But first we go back to Adrian and he baked a cake. It's back. And Plague's like, you really want to bake a cake for a baker's girl? Like, seriously? And Adrian's like, oh yeah, you're right. Why would she want a cake for me? Because while she's living in Paris's best bakery. Well, that's true in this world, of course. I think Marinette would appreciate anything from Adrian. It's like the reverse thing. Adrian is the one who's trying to impress Marinette and trying his way. But in actuality, and it will be explained by Marinette later, Adrian's just kind of copying Marinette. But we'll see what Marinette's reaction is to this later, like all this gesture, all this over exaggeration gesture that Adrian's trying to do. I told you we're cutting back so many times. Basically, Kagami's mother, after the aftermath, just trying to think, but she's having a hard time actually trying to get the pieces all together because she has her own pride and all this other stuff, and also the family tradition. But thinking about her daughter is also important to her, so it's fairly conflicting. And I think this is the first time we actually see her eyes. You can tell that she does have the color, but in where the pupil is supposed to be, it's completely like cloudy white, which is interesting. Not only that, but it does look like that her eyes are artificial in a way. That is interesting, but unfortunately, we don't get too much because guess what? We have another lore drop, or basically a very heavy story beat drop, whatever. The reveal that is very unceremoniously revealed to us. Lyra appears, and what I tell you, she is the new Hawk Mob. Come on, writers, you could do better than that. Yes, we have seen other things where like it was a girl, then a guy, then a child, then an adult, and stuff like that. But now we know it is just Lyra, or is it actually? Well, I'm just kidding. It is Lyra. What do you expect? But is Lyra alone? Is she working with somebody else with the power of the butterfly markers? Who knows? But we'd seen Lyra doing this, and to be honest, her design is she's kind of dripped out. Not gonna lie, it looks really good. But man, yeah, you can tell because the positions that she's in is similar to her silhouette in the I call it the butterfly state, the butterfly rip, which is just a purple, the purple hollow. I guess we call it purple hollow. I mean, I don't freaking know. But she does try to convince Kagami's mother that to be, akumatized. The mother is basically trying to set agreements, which is good. And the agreements are basically kind of set in stone. What Lyra wants is for her to actually get the butterfly, get the miraculous, not just from Ladybug Kaktamar, but also her own daughter and Felix. The mother is a bit concerned about this, as she should, but we get a little bit more details here. The saying is that basically, in order to make this a true deal, and she knows what she wants to control Kagami. But unfortunately, with the mark of the family, it has a special enchantment with it, implied, of course, that Kagami is free to do whatever she wants since she has the family seal, which is the ring. Without it, she doesn't have any control over her. A little strange, to be honest, but maybe it's just a traditional thing. But Felix technically has one too, meaning that it will be explained later, of course. And thanks to the knowledge of, I guess, since the Butterfly Miraculous is used by Monarch, like Lyra has his memories or something similar to like um from My Hero, um like all like one for all, maybe like the memories just kind of passed down from messages or something like that. I don't know how she knows this, but apparently with the Peacock Miraculous being infused with two of the miraculous with the rings, they can actually control them literally. So that's a little dangerous. And of course, with one snap, they could just cease to disappear because they're infused with the, you know, Peacock Miraculous, meaning that technically speaking, Felix and Kagami are now Sentimonsters, hybrid Sentimonsters. And we all thought Adrian would be a Sentimonster, right? We got a little bit more of this art style basically. In turn, if they can get Felix and control Felix, therefore they can control Kagami with his boyfriend. And of course, Felix will be the eyes and ears with the Miraculous, the technical Miraculous Avengers, of course. And yeah, that's kind of about it. Plain and simple. I really like the art style, but it is, of course, Disney-fied, right? Because it's made by Disney, mainly this season. Okay, let's remember that. After that deal is made, we cut back to Kagami meeting Felix. Apparently, Felix is in Paris. How? I don't know. He seems to be flew. He kind of flew here, I guess, or just flew to park to the subway and then got by train, I guess. How long is that train? And then we cut to them meeting Marinette, and they have a plan. And apparently, they know about the ring having the power to control both of them because all the rings are imbued with the Peacock Miraculous, specifically the rings of the family that both of them have. Not the Miraculous themselves, just the rings of the family heirloom. Yikes. But before I continue on, I just want to point out that the voice actor for Felix, which is the same as Adrian, Felix sounds exactly the same as Adrian, but just with different mannerisms. As, of course, with the Peacock Miraculous, when he transforms, he actually changes his voice, pretty much similar to how Pokemon does it. I don't know why, but there's a different tone when he actually speaks, and it's a deeper type of voice, a tiny bit, but it's still the same voice actor. You can still hear the Felix in him. But when he de-transforms, he just sounds like Adrian, but with, more proper manners, more sophisticated, if that makes sense. Since both Felix and Kagami knew about their rings being imbued with the Peacock Miraculous, basically, and of course, if they are destroyed, they basically might be destroyed as well. We both know for a fact that both Kagami and Felix, as far as we know currently, are both humans. Because of this, and since they've been wearing these rings for a pretty long time, they're technically now hybrid Sentimonsters in a way. With this in mind, while still human, they can still be controlled, even with a consciousness. So, yeah, that's not really that good, huh? So why they're with Marinette now? They actually want to ask Marinette to actually keep the two rings, put them in the yo-yo. Therefore, because of the yo-yo's magical properties, when the yo-yo disappears, the rings disappear. And that also means that when the ring disappears, both Kagami and Felix are basically free in a way. Marinette does not understand this, and Tiki helps her with bakery analogy. Marinette is a bit worried about this, and the reason why? Well, two things. First off, this is different from just holding the miraculous. This is holding the artifacts, right? Just holding some heirlooms, right? Something personal family stuff. What they're asking her is literally their lives. Their lives could be in danger. If anything happens to the rings, they're basically dead. Marinette is just asking, is this really what you want from me? Because even Marinette knows that this is a heavy responsibility. Saving the world, protecting it is one thing, but entrusting somebody, just two people's lives specifically, two of her friends, did they really think that? And of course, Marinette did bring up that if the yo-yo gets stolen, somebody could somehow use that portal to get the rings, just like how Gabriel Monarch, got the miraculous. It was from the yo-yo. It seems like Felix didn't really tell Marinette about this, which is one thing. But he does regret helping Gabriel at that time, giving the secret to where Marinette keeps all the miraculous. Yeah. Felix knows that much, a little too much. And with that, because of his influence, he does know that the yo-yo thing is not exactly a guarantee fix to their problems. But they do trust Marinette because she's still the guardian, and they do trust them with literally their lives, both figuratively and literally, of course. While they did not want to force Marinette, because they realized that they did, in a way, Marinette transformed to Ladybug, saying that if this is what you want, I'll try my best, basically. And then she could have put those rings in the yo-yo. However, she got interrupted. She dropped the rings. Reason why? Because there was a knock on the door. Convenient timing. Ladybug was just there for like a few seconds and a knock on the door. And these are our intruders. But don't worry, Kagami and Felix are covering Marinette. Marinette at this point is detransforming. How? We don't know. Honestly, we don't know. But they call for Marinette, Marinette appears. While Marinette asks why, Adrian says that he brought a gift. Basically, beef ribs, a full set of beef ribs. Unfortunately, Marinette says that these are pork. These are lamb chops. And Adrian's like, yeah, but the butcher said they ran out of beef and they gave me the lamb chops instead. With that out of the way, Marinette's dad took the lamb chops and basically decided to cook them for dinner. Because, with a little seasoning, they'll be pretty good. So after that, Adrian asks, why is Kagami and Felix here? And while it was pretty hard to explain, not to mention that the rings are missing since they all notice, Felix is trying his best to come up with a excuse. Unfortunately, the excuse becomes white lies, because while about the rings, right, the family heirlooms that both he and Kagami have, while Adrian understands this, it becomes harder and harder as to the reason why. Because, Felix could just give it to him, right? That's what he would ask, but Kagami stepped in. Unfortunately, Kagami had a hard time to explain further because Adrian asked a bit further. Then it's Marinette's turn. Marinette was pretty good with the excuse thing, but she is stumbling her words, which makes Adrian a bit more curious, and why are they doing this, and stuff like that. Luckily, Adrian found the rings, but he thought it was a good time to do a magic trick. We don't blame Adrian here. He didn't know what was going on, how important these rings are, besides being family heirlooms, which, to be honest, is his own thing. But considering how, Adrian knows Felix, he thought it would be okay, so he did a magic trick, which making the rings disappear. They were, of course, not happy with this. Adrian pulled out Kagami's ring. No, he pulled out Felix's ring, and then later he pulls out where Kagami's ring is. And Kagami's ring was in Felix's hand the entire time, even though Felix does not know that. So Adrian is now a master with illusion magic. However, with this in mind, everybody was pretty angry with Adrian, specifically more so with Felix and Kagami. Marinette was a bit angry as well, but she couldn't really stay mad with Adrian, of course. Kagami's mother did call, but Kagami just didn't want it, so she just hang up. But unfortunately, Kagami's mother said that she just needs to know where she is. Unfortunately, I guess the tracker was already there. Skipping back a bit, I forgot to mention that Felix just aura farming, just kind of nonchalantly fall backwards, but onto Marinette's, floor pillows, even though he knows that he didn't know they were there anyway. Yeah, he just kind of gambled, and he was lucky that the pillows were there to begin with to get this aura, all that stuff. But yeah, well, Felix says that no problem, that's all good. The rings kind of just disappeared. Both Kagami and Marinette were just very confused onto why Felix said this. But yeah, now going back to where we were. Oh yeah, the giant mech is back. It's not a centaur though. Makes sense. I think it's a variant of her second appearance, of course. Now with the stomach hatch being an actual mouth. Seeing Felix, she blasted a paralyzing beam on him to take him and get his ring so they can control him. Unfortunately, thanks to Lila here, checking the ring, it's Kagami's. Telling Miss Suguri just to see where, Felix's actual ring is, and it's on Adrian. She then goes after Adrian. Luckily, both Adrian and Kagami ran downstairs, and there was a distraction. She sliced the rest of the bakery to opening to reveal that, both Marinette's mother and father were making, lamb chops. She didn't harm them, of course, but it was just taken by surprise from them. She did, however, try to take Kagami. Luckily, with Adrian, Kagami did escape. They both transformed separately, of course. And yeah, we do see Kagami's transformation sequence. It is really good. I do love it. My only gripe about it is that it is one of the longest ones because they try to basically showcase all her elemental powers. It's basically making it more like 50% longer than any of the other miraculous transformations. I get it, but it is a bit long. They could have infused all three types of elements together like they did before, but I don't know. I really like this frame. I like the screenshot I took. It makes her look cool. They had a fight with Ladybug's help. Basically, Ladybug summoned a van on top of the giant robot, but she sliced it in half. Kagami was in the water. She did dodge our attacks, jumped into the water, and with Water Dragon, she uses the water. She uses some of the water, a little bit of the water in the river, to transform into a water giant. Chop that up to another ability that Kagami can use. She basically can just turn into a water giant if there's enough water around. Makes sense, to be honest. Doesn't explain why she didn't do this with the Kim episode, but we don't question it. Putting her in a full Nelson, just trying to get her to listen. They both have this family squabble. Very loudly, I might add. Luckily, there was no people involved. Cat Noir did jump in and destroy, her sword, but no Kuma. With basically Monarch telling, Mitsugugi that she's gonna hide out so the Ladybug and Cat Noir will not find her. She told Mitsugugi to deal with them, but it seems like for some reason, while Kagami, Ladybug, and Cat Noir, I should clarify, they did actually convince her, but this whole interaction, remember, both Mitsurugi and Lyra made a deal, and, well, this whole interaction, where later on we do know that maybe Mitsurugi really did mean her words, that she just wants what's best for her daughter. We don't know if she was actually telling the truth that the Akuma was the one influencing her actions. For all we know, she could have been lying this whole time. We, the audience, have to think about this because we know one reason why she did this, but we don't know if she actually means what she said to Kagami. However, however you want to look at it, Kagami did forgive her. I hope this doesn't backstab her. But I don't have a screenshot here. It's technically also implied that with how Mitsurugi's face is structured, I wish I had the screenshots. But yeah, she has more. Her brows show that her face has softened, meaning that she actually did mean what she said for her words. Unfortunately, we don't know if she's actually putting on an act or not. That's the bad thing. May I also add that Ira said that this whole thing was perfect when Mitsurugi de-transformed, even though she was hoping not to. But I don't know if she was very impressed with her performance or something else. We don't really get to see the aftermath with Kagami and Felix. We do get the dinner thing. The lamb chops are cooked. They look so good. A little small, but then they get bigger. Don't know why. Adrian basically says that, well, Marinette does all these wonderful things, these little little games just to show her love to him. And all Adrian can do is just some simple voice mail and all that stuff. And he wants to do something to impress Marinette, something big and extravagant like she always does. But Marinette's like, listen, Adrian, I'm the crazy one. You're the rational one. You don't need to copy me. Maybe the one smartest thing that Marinette has said. And of course, she's self-aware. At least she's self-aware at that point, I might want to add that while those two have a moment, both the mother and father just kind of staring at them, kind of creepily. I'm worried. Oh yeah, before the credits roll, quick. Apparently, remember the council that Natalie was at? Oh yeah, Mitsurugi is actually part of it. She is the person called the Machine, and apparently their leader was Gabriel. Yes, the leader was Gabriel, and he was called the Diamond. And and then one of them says, "Please let us say thank you, Diamond." I don't know if this is a Steven Universe reference. That's about it for the episode. Overall, it's a big mess. I love the story and the direction they give for Felix and Kagami. I do love that we get to see more of Kagami's side of the family's drama and that stuff. And I do love how Marinette and Adrian are basically like this lovey-dovey stuff. And how Adrian really wants to impress Marinette that he can be on her level. But Marinette, of course, just being the sweetheart, just like, listen, you can just be yourself. I just like you the way you are. You don't need to do much to impress me because you being with me is just all I need. And that's really sweet. But it is much more sweeter that Adrian really wants to, do more since Marinette always is doing these, just these over the top stuff, right? But the one thing I do not like about this is how much lore dump we have and a lot of implications and off-screen stuff that we know, and also just a bunch of implications. Like, here's the thing: Kagami already knows Kagami already knows that Gabriel's plan the entire time. Kagami knows Gabriel's wish. She understands how Ladybug is going through. Felix understands this as well. Makes sense because Kagami told him. And then not only that, Kagami's mother knows about her transformation. It's weird. Also, by the fact, that means that they're all keeping secrets from Adrian. Adrian's none the wiser. Not only that, Kagami and Felix are hybrid Sentimonsters implied in this episode. Which also means, if you haven't noticed, Felix's ring, the one he got from Gabriel he took, that is the same ring that Adrian was wearing throughout the past seasons. Meaning that Adrian, yes people, technically speaking, Adrian is a Sentimonster, but a hybrid Sentimonster, because Felix and Kagami are still human, they were still born as flesh and blood, but because of the prolonged exposure to the peacock-imbued family heirlooms, they become hybrid Sentimonsters. Adrian is also that too. So with the rings destroyed, they die. Not Kagami and Felix, but also Adrian. Damn. A lot of lore jumps, a lot of implications. I don't know how I feel about that. If I want to say, the episode itself is like a good 8 out of 10, but with the bunch of lore, that stuff, and all the stuff that was just implied, and also the very, very weak reveal that Lyra is the new monarch / Hawkmoth. I'm sorry, I love the episode, but if I was not a theory / lore head, me being a theorist / lore head in some regard, I give this episode a 6 out of 10. It's like the worst type of lore dump, and unfortunately, it feels like it's some sort of Marvel movie just crammed into a 30-minute episode. That's kind of how it feels like. Like exclamation from a movie just crammed into one episode. That doesn't really work that well. I'm sad I gave it a 6 out of 10 because I really love the animation. I really love the emotion. I really love just how Kagami and her mother were dealt with for this episode. I really love it. But the lore dumps is just too much for this. And I don't know. I love this episode. But I cannot say that I'm not disappointed. I'm really disappointed in how they actually treated this episode, honestly, in terms of lore and stories, because there's too many implications that it's more like disbelief. Never been said throughout any of the other episodes of the season. It's implied that the person has to watch at least season 5, and not to mention all seasons to get the lore of this. It's also implied that people who are watching the show already know the lore of the show. I don't know. Miraculous was always easygoing, which is why I actually like it. The theory, the lore stuff, that's all just icing on the cake. But this episode takes it into an extreme where you actually need to know the lore and the story just to get a good understanding of what the hell is going on in this episode. Again, it's a 6 out of 10, but if we take away the massive implications from the lore and just treat it like a normal episode, just like a random normal episode, I still think I'll give it an 8 out of 10. But even so, with people who are just getting into it, it's just a good 7 out of 10 episode, above average. Could have been done better. A little disappointed at Disney because Disney has shows like Gravity Falls, which is very good with their lore. So I don't know why they took the Marvel movie route in terms of explaining lore into a 30-minute episode. With that in mind, my name is Sampo. I'll see you guys next time. Yeah, technically the review is a bit quicker, but with the review and like the actual my opinions part is a bit longer, so I do apologize for that. I might try to trim some out, but I think it will just be the same like 43 minutes.